All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Carmelo Anthony made it official today as he called it quits from the NBA after 19 years in the league. Anthony finished his NBA career with 28,289 career points, which is ninth all time. Anthony averaged 22 and a half points for his career, which included averaging at least 20 points per game in each of his first 14 seasons in the league. A member of the NBA's 75th anniversary team. Most points scored in the Summer Olympics as Melo represented the United States four times. A 10-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA second team, four-time All-NBA third team. The third most points in the franchise history of the Denver Nuggets with close to 14,000. The seventh most, points in the franchise history of the New York Knicks as he scored over 10,000 points there. And you think about Carmelo, one of the fiercest scorers of his era in the NBA, one of the best to have ever been able to fill up the bucket. But one thing when you think about Carmelo, one thing that he's not going to be able to avoid is the fact that he never had that postseason success. Only got out of the first round twice, made one conference finals, never the NBA finals. And at the end of the day, as much as you love Melo, he was a scorer, but not a lot else that he brought to the table. And that's the thing that his career, you're going to remember his career by. He averaged just a little over 6 rebounds per game, just a little bit north of 2.5 assists. But nobody could fill it up on a nightly basis, or one of the best people to ever fill it up on a nightly basis in the NBA during his era was definitely Carmelo Anthony. Now, he played for six teams during his career. I talked about the Denver Nuggets. Of course, they drafted him third overall in that historic 2003 NBA draft. He was traded to the New York Knicks. He also spent time with the Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, Portland Trailblazers, and Los Angeles Lakers. But of course, Melo did the bulk of his damage with the Nuggets and Knicks, respectively. Some people are going to want to compare Carmelo to LeBron, just due to the fact that they came out in that historic draft together. Their styles are not the same. LeBron and Melo were friends even before they came to the NBA. Obviously, that bond has grown between the two of them as they've become icons. But you think about Carmelo, and honestly, any other year, he would have been the first overall pick, but you're not going to be able to compete with the phenom LeBron James that he was when he came out of high school back in 2003. But Carmelo came in the NBA with a ton of hype from Syracuse. You remember that one year at Syracuse? He helped the then Orangemen win their first and only national championship. Of course, he put on that stellar performance during their tournament run, most notably 33 points against Texas in the national semifinal. And then, of course, almost had a triple double in helping Syracuse get past Kansas in the national championship game. But nonetheless, arguably a part of one of the best draft classes ever. LeBron, Carmelo, Chris Bosh went fourth that year to the Toronto Raptors. And, of course, Dwayne Wade to the Miami Heat. And then, of course, Wade, LeBron, and Bosh teamed up to win a pair of NBA championships as members of the Heat. Now, of course, one question is going to be, when you think about Carmelo, do you view him more as a Nugget or as a Knick? And you think about it, he played 8 seasons with Denver, seven with the Knicks, 564 points in Denver, 564 games played in Denver, 412 games played with the New York Knicks, averaged 24.8 in Denver, averaged 24.7 with New York. And, for some people, it's going to be a toss up, but I think of him more as a nugget. I mean, Carmelo came to New York with a ton of hype, lived up to it from the scoring aspect. But of course, when you come to New York, regardless of the sport, and you're a star player, it's championship or bust as far as the expectations go. And of course, obviously, it did not work out for Carmelo, like I said, to have that postseason success in New York. Was a consistent guy to make the playoffs in Denver, but of course, in that stacked Western Conference in those days, he just wasn't good enough to consistently go out there and get his team past the first round. So, like I said, you look at Carmelo's basketball legacy, one of the best scorers of his era. There's no hands. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This guy could light up the buckets on a night in and night out basis. And I think he's going to be remembered for that. It's one of those, obviously, he never was able to attain that championship success, but that does not mean that his NBA career was a failure. I think one thing I will say, though, about Carmelo is that, in my opinion, the same player that he was when he came in is the same player that he was when he finished, due to the fact that Carmelo came in as a scorer and he's leaving the NBA as a scorer. When you think about Carmelo, you think about him doing the ISO on the baseline, holding the ball, a little head fake, and hitting that baseline shot and going to work, and that was his thing. AI had the crossover. Shaq had the drop step. LeBron just had to drive to the basket. Everybody had their signature move. Dr. J, driving to the basket. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with the skyhook. So many other things, but nonetheless, when you see that, or when you saw that, that fake in the ISO, you knew that was who Carmelo was. So it's one of those. He's walking away on his terms, if you want to call him that. It's a scenario where he gave it his all, and I'm never going to dispute that you don't score as many points as Carmelo Anthony did in the NBA by accident. It's only a matter of time before you're going to see him give that speech in Springfield and be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, and he rightfully deserves it. You think about how he's loved and revered and respected at Syracuse for what he did for that 1 year. I think the fans in Denver will come around to him. I think it's a scenario where he didn't leave on good terms, and of course, the fans there weren't happy. But a lot of time has passed. The Nuggets are having success right now. They are possibly on the verge of getting to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. So I think a lot will be forgiven. With the Knicks, again, there's going to be some people that say, "Well, should he have had it? Should he get his number retired?" I don't think so. Good player for the Knicks, but it's one of those where I think jersey retirements, regardless of team, those are really like that's what separates, a lot of players. And in just my opinion, I don't think Carmelo fell into that category, but nonetheless, a darn good NBA career, a surefire Hall of Famer. And regardless of the eras, Carmelo Anthony is obviously one of the better scorers that the NBA has ever seen. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.